Well. Today we have a very special episode. I don't know if you know this, but it's our 3-week anniversary. So huge day. And of course, to relish and celebrate this moment, we have our dear wedding planner, Laura from Love Laura Wedding Design Studio. She's here on the podcast, ready to chat all things weddings. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's so nice to see you guys again.
I know. I feel like it's so wonderful. Like every time I see you, it just I don't know, great emotions because I just associate you with the best day of our life.
That's so sweet.
Also, I'm here too.
And Ben is here.
Yes, Ben.
Just for those listening.
Sorry, everybody. I was just staring at Laura's beautiful face.
I get it.
Ben is here. Ben is here to join us in lieu of Lauren. Lauren is actually back home in Puerto Rico. And Ben was also at the wedding, so I figure he probably has some things to say. He was also a part of the wedding planning process.
I will say Ben was involved a lot, more so than most grooms. You guys shared it pretty equally, which I think is really nice.
I would have, Ben had a lot more to say than I was anticipating, frankly. Okay, but before we get into all the questions people have for you, I mean, you're a New York City wedding planner, so of course, lots of questions. Everyone, is obsessed. Okay, I want to give our listeners a little bit of background on you. So Laura's lifelong commitment to weddings and event planning was fated. Growing up, Laura's grandmother owned a wedding venue. She was always drawn to the space, so much so that she began managing it while still in high school. It was a passion that never left her and led her to plan and execute, I didn't know this, weddings and events in 15 different countries? What? So then you started Love Laura, which is a full service wedding planning, design, and floral studio in 2018. And, you, I would say, primarily do weddings in New York City, the Hamptons, upstate, the East Coast, and overseas. Wow. I did not know that about all the different countries. This is probably a stupid question, but do you get stressed at all before an event? I remember my brother-in-law used to do events. He used to do 5K races. And he said that the night before the race, he would have never sleep well.
Yeah.
Always kind of have a little bit of just nervous stomach.
Yeah.
Do you still have that?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
I'm a part of a big name people's lives. It's a very high pressure job. I do love it, but I think I've really learned over the years to manage my stress well and deal with it and really not show it so people just don't know. But I try to take really good care of myself so that it doesn't affect me.
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
We couldn't tell.
We literally couldn't. Yeah. If you were ever stressed, we never could tell. Okay. So our listeners have lots of questions for you. Obviously, Laura was with us from the beginning of, our wedding planning process. And I think she's such a wealth of knowledge and knows so much about, the ins and outs of events, obviously, and weddings, and especially New York weddings, which I think are just a whole different beast. And I think one thing that's kind of amazing is that Laura was actually recommended to us through Annie, who's a listener of the podcast. And so I don't know, Pop Apologist brought us to you.
I know, so fun.
And you're kind of I would say, I mean, Ben can correct me if he disagrees, but Laura's kind of the reason we had our wedding in New York because you were our first kind of call with someone who was New York City based. Because kind of at the time we talked to you, we were thinking of doing it, in Portugal or something.
That's right. I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we were just let's just meet with a New York City planner and just see what the process would be like.
Yeah.
And then you recommended the Boathouse. You were like, have you heard of the Prospect Park Boathouse? And I saw that venue and I was like, it's done. If we can have our wedding there, we'll have it in New York.
Yeah.
So anyway, a long-winded way of just saying thank you for leading us to our perfect day.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that.
Let's start with this kind of big question that I think some people might ask themselves as they evaluate the money they can spend on a wedding. Why do I need a wedding planner?
So I would say the first reason is a good planner will help to alleviate a lot of stress. They help to take the guesswork out of a lot of decisions that you have to make. So I always say my job as a planner is to help you make informed decisions. I can't make the decision for you, but I can help you make sure you're informed in making it. They're also a buffer for you between you and the vendors. So rather than having a million touch points and people that you need to talk to, there's just one person. And then the last thing I would say is a planner will really leverage their relationships to help you. So, for example, in the last few months for my clients, I've been able to get venue fees down. I've been able to get additional hours of photo coverage. Like they will leverage those relationships to help you and have your experience be better in the planning process.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and that was our experience with you. So many like perks or just like, I think you just had all of the knowledge. And I mean, I think that we went into the wedding planning process not totally like thinking we were for sure gonna have a wedding planner.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we met you and it was like a great fit. And I think you just immediately took so much stress off of our shoulders because you like, I don't know, most people have never planned a wedding before, have never thrown an event this big, and you don't even know what you don't know about it, and all of the things you need to be like concerned about, all of the little details. And then I think you add like planning it in a place like New York City where there is just, it's literally hard to do anything in the city. It's hard to go get a coffee.
Yeah. Let alone in a park where you need like special permits to even get vendors in there. I know.
Exactly. And so I think, and Ben and I kind of remarked about this, like on our honeymoon, like I feel like the best money we spent was actually having a planner because it left us all the room to be like excited. Like we had stuff to do for the process, of course. And it was stressful at times, but like, for the most part, I just got to show up to meetings and be with you and your team and be excited and like look at things and react to things and come with ideas, but like never have to like do a lot of the nitty gritty myself.
Yeah.
And that made the process like a million times more enjoyable.
Yeah. Even just like there was a moment we had like last minute. I was like, can we do a disco ball? Like said aloud.
Yeah.
Like I saw it on the Instagram of the venue and I just like threw that out there. And then a few days later you were like, yeah, it's going to work. We're going to find a way. And like, we have no idea what kind of work went into figuring that out or like,
totally
working with the lighting guy to, figure out the specifics of it, but it worked out and it was perfect. Like literally it added so much to the event.
Yeah.
It was
just those kind of things that we didn't have to deal with.
Right.
Super special.
Yeah. And
I would also say like, sometimes couples will come to me and they'll be like, okay, we thought we could do this without a planner, but like we've actually figured out and like we can't.
Yeah.
That's like also, that's a very common thing.
Even just trying to find a venue. Like that alone was such a hurdle. And then trying to figure out the date and like negotiating with the venue. Maybe walk people through kind of like, and I didn't realize this before we started our process, but like, there's a full service planning. There's like 3-month coordinator, and then there's like day of person. So I guess maybe walk people through that.
Like what the different things are. Yeah. So most planners will offer full service planning, and that's helping couples with the budgeting, with all of their to-dos, like mapping out, the project management of it all, and then hiring the vendor team, sourcing the venue. If they're going to handle design, they also will come up with like the designs of the wedding, mood boards, and then figure out the vendors you need to hire to like execute on all of the concepts, right? So that's like the planning and design. And figuring out the timelines and like logistics and all that. When it comes to coordination, so we sometimes will take on coordination only clients. We generally do more full planning, but if we do take on a coordination client, we won't just do day of. Some people do. I would say like this is a little bit of a red flag because I really find that in order to be able to coordinate an event well, you need to be involved at least 2 months in advance. So that event like the back of your hand. You're helping couples to identify like any gaps that they should be aware of, things that maybe they haven't thought of.
Yeah.
And then that's really like the production phase. So they're sharing all of the information with the vendors. All right, here's what time you need to show up. Here's, the floor plans. Here's like the dietary restrictions and like the seating chart. Here's the venue rules and regulations. Can I please get your insurance? And then the day of piece is being there to orchestrate it all. So making sure that the couple and their family and all their friends are having a good time, that things are running on time, that they know where to go, loading them onto the transport, making sure they're putting their dress on at the right time, all that stuff. And then also managing the vendor team. So making sure they're like showing up at time, that they're setting up properly, that, they're cueing the music, they're cueing the right songs.
Yeah.
And then, handling all of like the day of decor and overseeing the breakdown so the couple can just like go enjoy their after party and we're overseeing it all.
There's just so much to do at a
So
wedding.
much. Yeah.
It's like even hearing you like rattle all that off, I'm like, do I have PTSD? Like there's just like not actually, but just like there's just so many details, and it's, you know, once again, I'm gonna beat a dead horse, but why like having a person whose job it is to just literally think of all those details and be on top of them. And I consider myself to be like pretty detail oriented,
Yeah.
but thinking about taking all of that on while also having a full-time job like is crazy to me, and like would be like thinking about taking all of that on, I don't know. I feel like it's money really well spent. So
I think a lot of that also usually falls to the parents when
Yeah.
you're not doing that on your with a
Mm.
planner. And I feel like with us, like there was almost moments where our parents were like, "Hey, you guys need us to help with stuff, right?" Like, or like they were like
Mhm.
nervous that we weren't asking them. And
Mhm.
we're like, "No, like we've got it covered. Like our planner is going to help." And
it was
funny.
really
also-
nice.
and I
Like
think yeah,
yeah,
It's nice for them too.
yeah, they got to show up and enjoy the event and not
Yeah.
worry about it. Like even like, yes, as we were leaving the venue, we didn't have to worry that like someone was going to be like forgetting something at the venue, or like we knew that somebody from your team was going to be there to like wrap up and
Right.
that everything was like
Yeah.
solid.
Yeah, it really does give your like family and close friends like a better experience because there's less jobs, you know, to do. And like there's nothing wrong with having your family and friends help. That, you know, people are so great and nice, but
Yeah.
it is really nice for them to just like my mom even said, she was like, this is like, I mean, you know, she just said like this was like the least stressful wedding. Like I just got to like show up.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just it really makes a difference on like during the day of. Like we kind of all have a Mormon background a little bit. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of those weddings are very like DIY, whole families helping, whole families doing it.
Buffet.
Yeah, exactly. And which is all fun and amazing.
Right, yeah.
You know, it can be very cost effective.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just I think that like we were able to throw a really lovely event in New York with your help. Okay, so this is kind of like an open-ended one, but what do you think are some of the biggest mistakes couples make during the planning process? You kind of mentioned like, you know, if they only want to have a day of coordinator, that's sort of a red flag to you. What are some other mistakes that you see?
I would say two things. The first is focusing too much on guest experience. I think it's really important to focus on guest experience. And, you know, you're inviting these people to your wedding. You want to make sure they have a good time. You want to make sure they're well fed, they're enjoying, you know. But also remember that it's your day. I think a lot of people just get really too tied up in like, oh, are my guests going to be happy and comfortable? Like, let's make sure the basics are covered. Let's give them some moments of surprise and delight. But like, don't forget that it's your day. So if you want to do a sweetheart because you just want to have, you know, a minute alone with your spouse, like your brand new spouse, because you're tired of talking to people, do it. People will understand. Yeah, I think people just get really tied up in other people, and you should really remember it's about yourself,
Right.
too, and you're as a couple.
Is that kind of like just having way too much happening a little bit? Like you need to have all these surprises or all these little, like what do people typically do? I feel like when you say like guest experience, like just, I don't know, kind of having just like too much going on, too much of a packed agenda. And then you kind of, you know, don't realize like, you're like, I don't know, the day passes too fast.
Totally. And I think also stressing about like all the little details. Like we don't need to have like every little thing branded. Every little thing is like a moment of surprise and delight. Sometimes just like a simple like escort card table can be really pretty. You don't need to feel like you need to give them like a special like espresso shot with that, or like ring a bell for some champagne. Like those things are fun, but like sometimes it's simple is the way to go.
Yeah. And I think one thing I didn't anticipate is like people are going to be excited and impressed no matter what, because it's a wedding, because it's like, like obviously we see a lot of wedding stuff and whatever, the bar is high, but I just feel like you don't necessarily have to bend over backwards to do every single little detail, make every single thing incredibly unique and thoughtful and different. Because I think you'll be exhausted by that, and B, like I don't think it matters as much. I think people are just already going to be like elated to like see you get married.
So the other thing I would say is trying to be like too much of a micromanager of your wedding. Like put trust in your team that you've hired, put trust in your planner, put trust in your vendor team, like give your input, share your thoughts, you know, like call it out if it's not feeling right, but like relinquish some control and like just know that, you know, we do this all the time, like sometimes multiple weekends a month. And we've done this before, we've got you. And so I think it's just like putting trust, and letting go of that control a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, one thing like for our experience, the weather was a big question mark.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
yeah.
the whole week before it said like lightning and thunder.
Yeah.
And it really started to like, I mean, it was always worrying me, but it was really starting to panic me like probably 3 days out when we had a call about like a rain plan. And then we like, or like you had everything ready to go. You were like, okay, these are the umbrellas we're going to order. Like if it, and I felt like I was in really good hands, and like, that was just a thing that like we had no control over. And I feel like you need to tell people about like the meteorologist. Tell people tell everyone about tell everyone about the meteorologist.
So we always want to make sure that we have a solid rain plan and like backups in place. But when it is like, it may or may not rain, we have a meteorologist that we work with. So she gives us reports and they get more accurate as the days go on. And rather than like, opening up these apps and be like, is this correct? She can really predict it. Like we'll give her the location and she'll let us know, when it's going to rain. And it's been so helpful.
It's incredible.
The last few years. Yeah.
The meteorologist brought me a lot of peace of mind.
I think it made it so that we could put down our phone apps and like stop looking at it. Because literally, even the day before, I think it said that it was going to rain exactly at the moment that we were supposed to be outside.
Yep.
And so it helped us to like relax a little bit with
totally
and like be more present.
Yes.
Yeah, which is so important.
And like, yeah. We were like, we've ordered the umbrellas. There's nothing we can do.
Yeah. And relinquish some control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I loved our venue so much, is like the boathouse, because I do feel like as well, if it had to be indoors, it's a really pretty indoor venue.
So true.
Tell me, like, what are some of your favorite venues in New York? Maybe the tri-state area. Like,
yeah, I would say, okay, so within like the 5 boroughs, I love the Bowery Hotel. It's just like so stunning and cozy. I also really love 99 Scott. It's like this warehouse out in Bushwick, but it has like really good bones and is like a really good canvas and has like indoor outdoor space, which is quite rare in New York.
Yeah.
Obviously the Boathouse is one of my favorites. It's just so charming. We do some work out east. So in the Hamptons, I really love the Parish. Also the Prydwen Hotel is just like so cute and charming. And then upstate, I really love Ines, Auberge, and I would say Scribner's. Those are like my faves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. This is just kind of a little bit off the cuff, but okay, so love those venues. Is there anything like really specific about having like a New York wedding? Like, do you feel like it's just 1,000 times harder to deal with? I mean, I don't know. I felt like planning a wedding in New York was a lot harder because there were just like there's so many people who want to get married here. And it was like, no one's going to like cut you a deal. Basically, there's no like amazing deals to be had. There's not like you're going to like find a steal of like a venue that's going to be all like check all your boxes, because there's just so many weddings here. And it's like, felt like there would always be like another bride who would happily like, take our date or whatever. Yeah. And so I don't know. I'm curious what your take is on that, like weddings in New York.
Yeah, interesting. I feel like counter to that, right? The quality here is so good because you have to be, there's so many options. And so I feel like to be successful, like you have to be really great at what you do.
Yeah.
Just like the truth, I feel like with a lot of things about New York, but I just feel like the quality of like, for example, okay, I don't want to like say the state, but like we'll do weddings out of New York. Yeah. And even though they're still on the East Coast, just like the level of like hospitality, the level of food, just like all the things, it's just like really good here.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. And I do, like you have to be good at it or else like you'll like get eaten alive, like no one's going to like.
Someone else will take that spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to another question. Someone wants to know, how do you come up with your wedding budget? What areas should you try to save money on? I think like we're going to spend a good amount of time probably talking about budget because it's a big one here. Ben's favorite subject.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like personally we started with an idea. The concept of a plan.
Literally the concept of a plan. Concept of a plan.
And then like as we started to like really explore what things cost, I think that we realized that we were going to have to like start pinching our pennies and saving more.
Yeah.
And I think like our vision also for the wedding expanded, and therefore the budget did too.
Yeah.
I think that we came to Laura with about half of what we ended up spending. Maybe
About
I would say almost like less than half.
maybe less than half.
roughly.
Uh,
But that's
Yeah.
so common. Like, it's so common. Like, we live in the age of like Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram,
know.
and people just have no concept of like what these things
Well,
cost.
And you get in this mode where you're like, it's my wedding. Of course I'm going to have the exact thing I want. Like, why would I
Yeah.
say no? Every decision feels once in a lifetime. So you want to just say yes to everything.
Totally.
In fact, as we were like preparing for this episode, one of the questions is like, where, what areas do you try to save money on? And Ben was like, what areas do we try to save money on? I'm drawing a blank on that one.
I'll get back to you on that one. I'll think about it. No, but I think when coming up with a budget, like I always say the first step is like have a conversation with everybody that's gonna be paying, whether it's like the couple, parents, whoever, and be like, look, like how much do we feel like we can spend? And then I would take that amount and have a consult with the planner and say like, hey, this is how much I'm looking to spend. This is my vision. Like, are they in line at all?
Mhm.
And if they're not, you either have to change your vision or you have to change your budget.
Yeah. And I think in all fairness, we ended up changing our budget,
Yeah.
which like I don't regret a single thing. And I also think a
Yeah.
big factor was guest list. I think
Yeah.
we came to you with a much smaller guest list than what we actually netted out with.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, this is just kind of getting into some specifics. Like, what's a good starting budget to work from if you want to host, let's say, 125 to 150 guests? They didn't give a location, so I don't know. It's a little hard.
That's a hard question to answer. It really depends on like what you're looking for. I would say like roughly the charge is $1,600 per guest, but it really can vary. It can be less, it can be more. It just really depends on like what your vision is, the location, and a lot of different factors.
Yeah. And I think too, one thing to New York's credit, like, there were some ways that we could have maybe brought our costs down with like, we could have gotten married in a different month of the year,
Yeah.
But like, I do think there are a
True.
lot of different ways to split it or whatever, and to find some savings. But you have to be willing to compromise on your vision to some degree.
Like maybe you skip the handmade paper.
Exactly. Yeah, no, and that's like a great example.
Yeah.
Like for our invitations, I had this like Pinterest board with like these handmade paper invitations that I loved.
So
And I was like, okay, like literally I want I want a spin of this, like something like this. And it was all, and we ended up actually landing on somewhere that was like similar, but very different in the sense that it wasn't as like handmade feeling, but it still felt like
still beautiful in color.
Yeah, and luxe, but
Yeah.
the handmade paper was going to be what, like triple the amount of
Oh,
money?
it was like thousands of savings.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, crazy.
That was interesting too, that there were places where we were like, oh, we're for sure going to save money on this. But then, so I think like the thing that comes to mind initially is like the food and beverage budget, where we're like, oh, half of our people there are not going to drink. It's not going to matter. Like it's going to be like way cheaper. And then we realized that there's a minimum for the venue,
Right.
which we like hadn't really considered before.
Mhm.
And so we're like, okay, well, how do we spend the rest of this? Because they're going to charge it to us anyway.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah, those minimums will get you.
Yeah, and I think like this is also why it's just helpful to have a planner, is like you don't really even know what, like, how these venues try to like kind of get you a little bit. Like, we thought that the venue cost was going to be very low because it is kind of low on paper for like a New York venue, but then we just had no clue that they were going to be like, well, you have to work with our food and beverage people and it's going to be this minimum. Like,
Right.
what should you prioritize? Like, what is actually worth the money? Is is it the tableware? Is it the tablecloths? Or is it the open bar versus just like a couple, set cocktails? What do you think's worth it?
I would say the one thing that I always have my couples prioritize is photography.
Yeah.
It's one of the only ways that you're going to have to look back on your wedding. I think it's so important. So I always try and get them to book that first after the venue. And then I would say it's really up to my clients. Like, if you're a lover of flowers, like, let's prioritize that. If you love, stationery, if you love handmade paper or whatever, like, let's prioritize that. I think let's make sure that the basics are covered. Like, we've got, enough food where people aren't going to feel hungry, like enough fun drinks where it's going to feel like interesting and fun. And like, there's a few moments of like surprise and delight for your guests. And I also really like to prioritize like anything they're going to touch day of, like
Mm,
the menu at the table. It's something that they're going to touch, they're going to pick up. Like, let's make sure that's really beautifully designed. But from there, it's really like the couple's priorities and like what they love. And as long as the basics are covered, like you're good.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing for us was food, was
Mhm.
making sure that the food was delicious.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we knew that we had to go with that with like Purse Lane's
Yeah.
people, but I think we did an extra tasting just to make sure that like we had
Yeah.
everything dialed in. But I do think that like what you said about photographer is absolutely true. Um, like I think you said when we got our photos back, you're like, oh, it somehow looks even more beautiful. Like
Yeah.
totally agree. And I think like as you go through those moments, you have like obviously rose-colored glasses and like everything feels like so special and amazing. And you want somebody who's able to capture that and like
Mhm.
relay how special and fun it was.
Yeah.
Totally. And you can spend all the money in the world, and then if your photographer misses the mark, it's
Yeah.
like then it's just yeah. I think that's such a good point because I feel like my instinct would be like, oh, just always prioritize the food and the venue, which is two big things. But I do think like you can't fix a bad photographer or a photographer that you like skimp on.
No.
You know.
Should we shout out Savannah?
Yeah. Anyway, Savannah Sturkey, who was
The best.
the best.
She killed it.
And she just had
She's
such
so
great
sweet.
energy, like so chill,
Yeah.
so relaxed, like just everyone on your team just brought like not Savannah doesn't work. Sorry, I'll restart. Everyone who we worked with, from like your team, the Love Laura team, to like Savannah, everyone was just very relaxed.
Yeah. I remember there was like one moment where I was like, oh, like, did Savannah get a photo of this? And I was like, I haven't seen her anywhere. And then literally in our like preview, there's 2 great photos of it.
Oh, good.
And yeah, so like she did a great job and everybody, yeah, knocked it out of the park.
Okay, next question. How far out should you lock each thing down? So like,
Mhm.
Venue, music, florals, decor, RSVPs.
So generally, I say 12 to 18 months in advance, lock in your venue, hire your planner. And then the next thing you should do is start hiring your vendor team. Around 9 months out, you want to send your save the date and then start the design process. So figure out, what rentals are you bringing in? How are we doing the lighting? What are the florals going to look like? All of the fun stationery day of, all of those things. And then by around 3 months out, you want to be sending your invite. And then RSVPs should be in no later than 1 month in advance.
Okay. And it flies by. I'll just say that. Let's talk about wedding trends.
Okay.
We're all on Instagram. We're all on Pinterest. We're seeing all of the trends. And a lot of them are very beautiful. So I'm curious to hear, like, what do you feel like is trending right now? And what do you feel like is timeless? And if there's any trends that you're not a fan of?
Yeah. So my favorite things right now, and like really what's trending. So pops of silver, which is so funny. I've always been a gold girl, but I'm like all about the silver
Yes,
now. Like
same,
love
same.
it. Pops of red, drapery. I feel like we're talking about a lot of things from your wedding.
Yes,
This is
no,
like
but
so chic.
it was perfect.
Large format cakes, definitely having a moment.
Yes.
And then also incorporating food, whether that's like fruit or vegetables into the tablescape, is definitely having a moment too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then as far as what's timeless, I don't know. Like, I have a hard time with this question because I feel like you shouldn't be so concerned about like, well, am I going to look back and like the photos? Like, it's a moment in time. Just celebrate that. Celebrate who you are at that time, what you liked at that time. I think try to not have everything like, oh, it's like of the moment trend. Maybe you mix, like a really on trend dress with like a classic bouquet. And like, I think that juxtaposition is what makes the design interesting
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like there were a few moments where we tried to pull from like older styles. Like, I mean, your second look dress like had a very distinct like vintage vibe to
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like people were like, "Where did you find this vintage dress?" And I was like, "Oh, it's actually not vintage, but I love that the people were like thought it was vintage because it did, didn't
Yeah.
feel like a 2025 design." Yeah, I mean, I feel like you and I kind of gravitated towards like obviously there was definitely color in our wedding and across like florals and whatnot, but we also liked just like a lot of black and white and cream. And I struggled kind of the whole time we were planning the wedding with like having colors and like, what are my wedding colors?
I
Like,
think there was a moment where the wedding was going to be a lot more red. Like,
Yeah. We
Yeah.
scaled back on that a lot,
Yeah.
which I think
I'm glad
was
we
the right
did.
call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but
Yeah.
there were still little pops and they were so perfect.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to you. Any trends that you're just like, please no, or any trends that you're just like glad are over?
Okay, so I would say some of the things that are trending right now that I don't like them because of like logistical reasons. Not that they don't look cool, but you know the serpentine tables that are curvy and
Yes,
shaped,
yeah.
they look so cool. But like in reality, you're at this weird angle and you're like not really facing somebody across from you.
Interesting. It's like I feel like I always see those tables too, not without people sitting at them.
Yes,
So they look gorgeous.
they look so cool, but logistically like not great.
Okay.
I love the look of a champagne tower. They're so chic and cool, but like so messy in practice. Champagne is everywhere. The linen is getting drenched. I've now been at 2 weddings where a guest has literally knocked over the champagne tower.
Oh my gosh.
So don't love those anymore. And I would also say like vague dress codes. I think people are trying to be like really fun with the dress code. For example, we have one coming up and we're saying it's summer solstice chic because
Cute.
it's on the solstice, which is so cute.
Yeah.
But, and what we are doing is we're then describing, you know, this means and, you know, what it means.
Yeah.
So guests aren't like, wait, but what is that?
Yes.
And that's like a big trend right now. So just make sure you describe it and give some examples of what that means.
Totally.
I think with dress code, just be prepared to field questions.
Yeah.
Dress code, no matter what.
No matter what.
So yeah, totally.
Yeah. But I think also, you know, I'm glad we did black tie for hours because I just feel like I don't know, when everyone getting dressed up can be kind of annoying.
Yeah.
You know, it's annoying to rent a tux, but I do feel like it makes a big difference in your own experience because it just feels fancier. It feels like an excuse to like, I don't know. It just, when else do you get a tux?
Literally. Like, I feel like this is a lot of things for me with weddings. Like, when else do you get to do this?
Yeah.
You know, and just go for it. Like, why not?
Right. Next question, going back to the vendor debacle. What red flags should couples kind of watch out for in vendor contracts?
So with a vendor contract, I always want to make sure that there is a very solid force majeure clause. So
wait, what word is that?
Force majeure, and I'm probably butchering the pronunciation.
I've never even heard of it
with my Utah accent, but basically you want to make sure that if there is anything that's going to happen, like a hurricane or a fire burns down your venue, or if COVID-19 happens and we're not able to put on the event, what happens to your money? So make sure that's really solid. And also I want to see, like, if for whatever reason the date has to change, what happens? Can you reschedule? Can you reschedule within 6 months, a year? Like, just be sure, like, you know what's happening with your money. And also non-performance clauses. So
Interesting.
if you have, you know, this awesome DJ book that you're so excited about, let's say they're like in the hospital with some emergency, let's say they get hit by a bus, like what happens? Are they going to send a replacement? Like, those are really 2 big things that I always say to watch out for.
With like the first one that you called out, do like a lot of, or, you know, some vendors who are not so great, like just say, sorry, you're out, you're like out of luck if, you know, a calamity happens, or I guess like what are you looking for with those like clauses, I suppose?
Yeah, I'm making sure that you are getting the option, like, to reschedule the date, or you're getting some money back, like if they can't perform. Because for example, with venues, if it burns down and you can't have the wedding there, like, you should be getting a refund. Their insurance should be paying for that.
Right.
So.
Right. This kind of goes back to like the question about what's worth prioritizing, but what vendors are worth splurging on?
Photographer.
Yeah.
Sure.
Obviously that one.
Don't even think about it.
I'll just say we didn't do a live band. We had a live saxophone player and we had a DJ. It was plenty.
Yeah.
Live band was going to be astronomical compared to like the price of DJ and a saxophone player.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I missed anything by not having live music.
I agree. I do love a band, but I really still love a DJ. Like, there's certain songs that only a DJ can really do well, right?
Totally.
And so I think even if you're like, oh, should I do like the full band? Like, maybe you just have live music like you guys did for the ceremony and cocktail hour. It's so romantic and beautiful. And then maybe a few live elements, but like I think that's plenty. Like, I don't feel like you need to go for this full like 18-piece band all the time.
Totally.
To wow your guests. Yeah.
Yeah. This person says, I'm struggling with my own planner. They're missing deadlines. They're distracted. Wedding is in 2 months. What What does this person do?
That really stinks. I think honesty is the best policy. Have an open conversation. Look, these were my expectations. This is like what's not working. And if it's still not working, maybe consider hiring someone else. I mean, I've had a few couples now come to me after working with one planner because it wasn't working out. And I think ultimately, like, you can't get a redo on this day.
Yeah.
So it's maybe something you should consider.
It's worth having the tough conversation to make sure that you're in good hands, because I think you will definitely not regret that. You will not regret having the hard conversation and then actually getting to like exhale and have someone who can take care of things. And like, a lot of times it's not like you pay your planner fully up front, you pay like, so hopefully at this point you haven't paid for them completely if they're not holding up their end of the bargain. I mean, okay, Ben's laughing because he wants to bring up a moment from our wedding that we weren't able to perfectly like
there's always
control.
Yeah, there's always something.
Always something.
Our saxophone player wore a wild suit.
A mustard yellow suit.
It was a moment of like, how do I make this wedding about me? And honestly, it might have been a good thing because it was like, hey, this is the thing that's going wrong.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter.
It's too strong.
Going wrong is too strong. This is the thing that we can be like, oh, wow, that's crazy, and not worry about anything else. It's like, a minor detail.
Right.
And he also was really good. So
he did a great job.
He did show up to play, which was great.
Yes.
But it was also like
just
really
hilarious.
funny. What was the, he looked like Curious George, like the...
Yes, like man in the yellow hat. Yeah.
Exactly.
I love in life. If he ever sees this, you did a great job. We maybe would have controlled the suit color a little bit more, but it's all right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's funny. It's one of those things where like people don't notice, people don't care, but you're clued into every detail.
Oh, you're noticing every little thing.
Yeah.
And like, we did tell everyone to wear all black. We're gonna make sure they get that note next time and comply. But like, also, it's a funny story.
Yeah. And it's like I from his perspective, I bet it was like, this is what I wear. Like, this is like, this is my moment. Yeah.
Bringing the jazz.
Okay. Another question is, what are some surprise items couples often forget to like budget for?
Okay. So some of the items they forget to budget for, I would say lighting and staging. People like just don't think about putting lighting into their budget. If you're doing a wedding in a remote location, toilets and generators can be a huge thing. And then also rentals for your catering team. For example, if you're doing family style, a lot of caterers won't supply all the platters and the service utensils and all that stuff. Those can be like big items.
And those are, once again, things that like a planner knows about already ahead of time and is like accounting for. It's like going back to that original question of like, why do you need a wedding planner? It's like, for example, even just like vendor meals, like you're just not clued into that at all.
Yep.
But you're like, oh, that's a part of the process. You need to like feed everybody and tips and like
tips.
Like, make sure that you have tips prepped, and some people only accept cash, and it's like just all of the little things. Talk to us about, sometimes brides' emotions can be high. How do you help navigate that? If you're a bride listening, how do you care less about other people's feelings? Maybe people you're not inviting, or people who are complaining about your wedding or whatnot. I don't know. What's your approach to that?
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like, I think weddings really have a way of like drawing out, it's a high emotion time, right? And so any dynamics that are a little bit sensitive, like they'll just be amplified, but we're so used to it and we've seen it all. I would say, like with couples that are like really concerned, I really try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, I think that people will really understand if, about things, and like, just don't be so concerned. Like, ultimately, people are there to celebrate you. They want you to be happy. So like, just try and like accept that and just like sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Yeah.
Like again, feel like the basics are covered, but don't feel like, you have to attend to like every little guest like want and need. Like, they're adults, still deal with it.
Totally. And like, on the day of, so much of that stuff won't matter.
Yeah.
Like, you'll just be wrapped up in this like bubble of just like bliss. And that stuff it will feel inconsequential.
Totally.
How about then like family drama? I mean, I'm sure that's a whole other side of things that you deal with, is just like opinions from families, moms?
Yeah.
How do you deal with it?
A lot of family dynamics for sure. One thing that I always ask my clients is we keep it confidential is like, please make us aware of any family dynamics that we need to be aware of ahead of time. But I think when there's a lot of people involved in the process and there's like different opinions, sometimes it's just allowing the space to have those opinions set. And sometimes that's like enough and then it can go away. But I think a lot of things come up when they're like unspoken.
Yeah.
And so a lot of this job really does feel like adjacent to being a therapist a lot of the times.
Totally.
But just like allowing that space and, you can say it and then it's gone. And like a lot of times that solves it.
And to your point, you're probably like also emotionally managing like couples a little bit and like their differences of opinion.
Yep.
And like differences in how they want to spend money and like what actually matters to them. And, I mean, I feel like I don't think the wedding planning process was hard on our relationship necessarily, but I do think that it brought out like, okay, like, we need to, you were obviously always concerned with like, how much money are we spending? And I was less concerned with that. And
always one.
It can be stressful. It can like, and then I feel like you were a witness to a lot of Zoom calls where Ben was like, okay, well, looking at me after I've suggested something like, how is that going to fit into our budget? But it's fine.
And I think it's a good practice in marriage. I mean, I've been married for, 7 years and it's a lot of compromise and like wedding planning will teach you that. Like no couple is going to have the exact same vision or exact same priorities. And I think it's a good practice in, doing something together.
Right. That's true. And it was like, I think it made us stronger. I mean, I loved hearing all of Ben's suggestions. I think that we made a great team and you had more opinions than I anticipated, but most of them I welcomed.
We're good at group projects.
We are good at group projects.
You guys killed it.
Like Ben was really good. Like Laura used Notion like as a system to like help us stay organized and give us, tasks and whatnot. And it was just, I feel like Ben was very active in Notion. Like you're just great. You just weren't like a checked out groom. And I'm sure a lot of grooms can be kind of checked out.
I mean, yeah, everyone's different.
Yeah.
Like there's been some couples where I won't meet one of the partners until like, the final walkthrough or something like that, which is so funny. Like there's some people where it's just like the bride and the mom.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see like everybody's relationship dynamics and like family dynamics. It's like, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like our level of involvement was correlated to like how busy each of us were. So I think like obviously when in times where you were more busy, I was picking things up and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that plays into a lot of the different dynamics, but I will say that like any conversation that I had about wedding planning with people was like, oh, like how is it for you? Or well, how is it for your fiance? Like, cause she's doing all of it, right? Like I think the assumption was always that like I was just kind of like along for the ride. And
you were very much involved,
like
actively.
I felt like I could fully trust you with any side of the process. I felt like I could be like, okay, like, can you handle this meeting? Or like, I just felt like we were very much so on the same page, which was like nice and lovely and a good indicator for our marriage. Okay. One of the final questions, tell us some like dream venues you have. What is the 16th country you want to go to plan an event? Are you open to doing destination weddings or like, yeah.
So, I mean, in my personal life, I have a 4-year-old. And so it's been a little bit trickier like the last years, but we have done the last few years. We did Sweden, we did Scotland, and I'm manifesting for the next 2 years. I want to do at least 1 or 2 a year. I think it would be so much fun. Would love to do more of those.
How many weddings do you typically do a year?
It depends on the scope.
Yeah.
But generally anywhere from 10 to 15 is kind of the sweet spot for us. Yeah.
Amazing. I can't imagine. I mean, we planned one wedding and when we had you. I can't even imagine. It's incredible.
Are there specific venues that you're interested in rather than like countries, or are there?
Yeah, I would say for venues, like what I'm really interested in getting into right now is more like custom tent builds. So we've done tented weddings. We do tented weddings all of the time, but more getting into those like, all right, we're going to be out in a field and like, let's build this thing from scratch. Let's bring in like the water. Let's bring in the generator. Like I love a challenge.
Yeah.
And also just really love it when I'm not tied down to like the confines of a venue as well. Like we can make it into anything we want. I really want to do more of those.
Yeah.
One question I have for you, before we decided on the boathouse and everything, we were like looking at a lot of like all-inclusive places. What's your thoughts on like all-inclusive? Because I think that also happens a lot of times out of the country. It's like, come have your wedding at this castle and we'll, it's just like, this is this is the set price. You can invite as many people as you want. Like, I don't know, thoughts about that?
I think it's good and bad. I think if it's a couple that's not as design focused or has the budget to bring in other things. Like I work at venues, that will include like the tables and the chairs and all the glassware and plates and all that stuff, which is great. But it doesn't always work. The aesthetic doesn't always work for every single wedding. And so if you're being, really budget conscious, it's great. But if you're being design focused, just know that you might have to spend a little bit more budget wise to bring in the things and finishes that you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Like you might end up just adding to that big number as it is.
And then maybe you should have just gone with like the venue you actually love.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Do you feel like you're seeing a lot of people do bridal parties or less so? Because like we didn't have a bridal party.
Definitely less so.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely less so. I feel like it may be my theory on it is because people are getting married a little bit later in life. And so it's really hard to draw the line of like, who would I ask to be my wedding party? But I've also seen people be like, well, I just want a wedding party. And so they'll have like 13 each, which is great. And fine, like whatever works for you. But I would say like maybe 30 to 40% of our clients don't do a wedding party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How often do you see like one-day events versus multi-day events?
It varies.
Yeah.
And I mean, we do both. Like we love to do weekend planning. And I think, when you're making that decision, it's how much like, time do you want to be spending with these people? They're just like such different experiences.
Yeah. Right.
And budgets too.
No, that was like a huge thing for us is, we did end up doing kind of like 1.5 days. We had like a little picnic and then we had a rehearsal dinner, but those events were much more low budget. And I think, and it worked out perfectly. They were just a little bit more like DIY.
But you got the time with your people, which I think is like what's most important. Yeah.
I'm also curious what you would say now, having not done a bridal party. Would you do that again?
Yeah, I think so. I felt like all the people who were special to me, like were there and knew that they were special to me. Like I obviously had like a bachelorette that kind of was like, with the girls who I was closer to. And I think that just on a very superficial level, I think people want to wear what they want to wear.
Yeah.
And so unless like, I don't know, I liked that our dress code was just kind of like whatever you feel amazing in. That's also like, long, in terms of dresses.
Yeah.
But what about you?
Yeah. I mean, I think that it had an interesting effect in which there were some decisions that were made a lot easier because of it. And then simultaneously decisions that were made a lot harder because of it.
Yeah.
Because like within a standard wedding timeline, there's like, okay, the groomsmen and so do this or that. And it's okay, well, where do we, like, because we haven't actually defined who's in the bridal party, then like, who do we actually invite to that type of thing? And so
it made some of those like the moments before the wedding, like getting ready and stuff, a little bit more unclear about like who should be at what.
Yeah. And I think that like, while I think the benefit of it was that like, you don't have to ask people to do all that much more. Like you said, like buying a specific dress or like doing XYZ. Like you can invite other people to do other things, but then it's easier for them to say no, probably. If they really want to. And then, but I think that like, realistically anybody who was invited to the wedding is like in your inner circle, especially at our stage in life.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Agreed. Laura, thank you so much for coming on Pop Apologists. Thank you for
having me.
Planning our perfect day, our 3-week anniversary. How does it feel? Ben, thank you for being here. Love you. Laura, tell everyone where they can find you.
I'm on Instagram at Love Laura Events, and then website is lovelaura.co if you want to shoot me an inquiry and talk about your big day.
She's the best. Cannot recommend enough. Laura is the best. We love her. And yeah, everyone, we will be back next week with another episode. Bye. Love ya.
Bye.